everyone. You're listening to the VitQ Dating Podcast, where we talk dating, relationships, and travel here in Vietnam. And I'm your host, Gary. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing flaking and what to do about it when it happens to you. Today, I'm joined here with my friend Mike. Me and Mike have known each other for several months now. We've been out gaming, talking about girls, having a beer or whatnot for several months here in Vietnam. He's joining me here again today for today's podcast. So, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. What's going on,
man? I'm not too bad myself. So today, we're going to talk about flaking here in Vietnam. Would you say this is a big issue?
It's quite a complicated question because I think from my perspective, I want to call it micro flaking because I don't think I've ever been directly flaked on by a girl that I had a date with until like maybe just recently. But I do experience flaky behaviors like whenever I add a girl from Tinder to WhatsApp and she just stops fucking responding and shit and then might message me like 2 days later. Like that's what I would consider flaking, right? Like flaky behavior.
Okay, so not like outright flaking on you. Like let's say you agree to show, you have a date at 5 p.m. today, and then she doesn't show up or something, or she cancels last minute. More of the lines of like her behavior, like leading up to the date, like she's unresponsive or something like that.
Right, and I've had I guess I've been fairly lucky to not really get big flakes on dates. And usually if the girl is going to be late, they will reschedule. They're really good at keeping time here. And usually I'm the one that's late to the date. But on apps, absolutely they're flaky,
Yeah. I mean, we both know, like in the West, flaking is really bad, right? If you've ever done any sort of dating in the West, like I mean, if I'm meeting girls online, probably at least 50% of them would probably flake on me, right? But how would you compare flaking in Vietnam compared to the West? Would you say there's more flaking occurring here, or is there less flaking?
Yeah, there's definitely less flaking. Yeah, it's quite easy to get dates here, and have girls show up on time, even for coffee or food or whatever drinks. It's very easy to set up a date, but I do play around with online apps and things like that, and I have noticed that there is quite a bit of flaky behavior where you might talk to a girl online and she doesn't respond, or she might not respond to your messages on the app, and but it's not too bad. You can still, if you're diligent and time and money are no object, you can definitely get at least a date a day if you're tenacious.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say dating isn't quite as bad as it is in the West. Of course, I think with any type of dating, flaking is just a part of the game, right? It's gonna happen regardless. There are some girls that don't take dating seriously. Maybe some girls are just looking for attention. Maybe they have a low self-esteem and they're looking to use some guys to boost their own egos. Maybe some girls, something came up last minute. Maybe they're busy with work. Maybe their dog died and they have to take it to the hospital to get artificial resuscitation or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I think flaking does happen anywhere. But I'd say overall, it's not quite as severe as in the West. You should be able to get more girls out overall compared to what you're used to in the West. What do you say some signs are that you are about to get flaked on? What are some things that you've experienced here in Vietnam leading up to the flake?
The timestamp on their messages and their last seen online, like on Viber or WhatsApp, and I pay close attention to these. And if she's been online recently, and like it's about time for the date, and like I would say 15 to 20 minutes, and she still hasn't messaged you, go ahead and reach out. But that's a sure sign of a flake, like almost, And then she's like, "Oh, I'm busy today. I can't. Blah 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 blah." Or I think I've had like some silences. They just don't respond back or whatever. But that's very very rare. Usually, what happens is like on the day of the date, the girl will message you and say, "Hey, I'm sick. Blah blah blah. I can't meet today. Let's meet tomorrow instead." And then you meet her tomorrow. What else? I'm trying to think of some other signs here.
Have you ever happened where like it's like 5 minutes before the date, or you've shown up at the place, and then she would message you, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, something happened, or I can't come right now, or something like that. My mom is being chased down the street by loan sharks because she forgot to pay her interest for this month, or something like that."
No, I've never experienced that actually.
Mm,
Never. Yeah.
okay.
I guess I've been fortunate. Um, but yeah, dude. I mean, on a lot of the apps I play with, I do deal with a lot of flaky girls. Like, there's one app I use called Scout, and we've talked about this, and you probably
Yeah.
don't agree with me using that app, but a shit ton of flaky girls on there, and I add them onto whatever messaging app, either Viber or WhatsApp. And girls on Scout are incredibly flaky. There was one recently that was really pretty, and she lived out in District 3, and I added her on WhatsApp, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm just doing my normal thing, just chit chatting with her, and it seemed fine. Then the next day, she just went stone cold on me. That's flaky behavior.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I went for the invite, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. Let's do this some other time." And there was no other time proposed, so I just like said, "Yeah, dead lead."
Yeah, usually if they flake on you and then if they propose another time, let's say, hey, I can't go out on a date with you today, but how about tomorrow at 5 or 6 p.m. or something at so and so place? Usually you're still good, you're still in. But if on the other end, if she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet with you today, I'm busy, blah blah blah, and then she ends the text or call or whatever, it's usually a sign that she's not, her interest level is pretty low. The lead's pretty much gone at that point.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. I also find that with wishy-washy answers too, leading up to the date. Like if I were to text a girl, I'd be like, and I ask her, so when are you free to hang out to have a coffee or something like that? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of busy right now. Maybe next week or whatever. And if I ask her, okay, well, what day next week? And she's like, I'm not sure yet. Let me get back to you on that. Usually, like that means it's a sign of low interest, and it probably means I won't get her out on a date. Also,
Yeah,
things like low compliance levels, right? If I ask her to do something for me, oh, tell me about something, like tell me about your holiday or something like that. She gives me like 1 or 2 word replies, or I ask her about your schedule. She doesn't tell me directly. These are another signs that I probably won't get her on a date. So I usually don't bother with girls like that, or a girl that takes her time, her sweet ass time to respond to what texts me.
yeah, right. Actually, dude, I just opened up my WhatsApp right now, and this is one girl I met off. Well, I didn't meet her yet, but I added her from OkCupid, and she lives in Govap, and I'm just talking with her, and this is another flaky behavior, but it's a little more subtle. Is when girls turn off their last scene on WhatsApp and make their privacy settings like not visible at all. So I'm looking at this text exchange, and she's pretty cute actually. I'm trying to get her out. 1 or 2 word answers. I'm in Hanoi right now. Thank you. Ha ha. It's just
Yeah.
very short. I'm not. She's not really giving me anything to work with. I'm like, how about a drink? Oh, I don't drink, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't mean that. So but then again, I'm looking at her the thumbnail here, and she's dressed like quite provocatively. Could be a hooker. That's another thing.
She's probably found another sucker. She's probably found another guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at her, her picture here, and then comparing to the OkCupid profile. So I'm not sure. Really ambiguous girl here, and obviously I'm not gonna really take this lead very seriously
No.
because I know what's up.
Yeah, low priority. Maybe like a text, like a low effort text or something when you got some free time or something like that. But I probably wouldn't be chasing after her. Do you find that there are certain apps too that give you better response rates, less flakes compared to certain other ones? Like I find for me personally, Tinder girls flake a ton on that. I have a love hate relationship with that app. I think because there's so many thirsty guys on that app that they blow up the girls' egos and they inflate their egos so much that all these girls end up being really, like really bitchy, picky, flaky, you know.
Yeah, Tinder is quite hit or miss. You can still squeeze a little bit out of it, but which I'll try to do at some point again. But it's just really, it just depends. It's not very good. There's some other apps that I'm not going to mention that are quite good
Yeah.
for like response. That's premium content, guys. But it's you know there's something important I want to talk about actually, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of autistic to talk about, but it's just things like timing, what's going on in the girl's life, things like user base overlap within apps. Certain apps have girls for some weird reason take certain apps more seriously than others. So she could be on fucking I mentioned OkCupid before,
Yeah.
and she could be on that and then be on Tinder, but she hardly texts her Tinder and just uses that for Instagram, right? And then she could use OkCupid as the actual dating app. So you see like different sets of behaviors across different apps, and you messaging her on Tinder, and that's bad timing, and then you get the brunt of like the bad flaking behavior. Whereas I could meet her on OkCupid and get better responses, and get her out on the date, and so on and so forth. So little things like that matter actually.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I find for me, like, once you start getting to the whole online dating realm here in Vietnam, you'll oftentimes find a certain percentage of the girls, you'll see them on several different dating apps. Like, you may see her on Tinder, you may see her on Vietnam Cupid, maybe on Badu or something like that. Like, some of these girls, they have like probably like 4 or 5 different like dating accounts on all these different websites. And yeah, like just like Mike mentioned, their behavior is different depending on what app it is. There's some certain apps where they're much more serious about dating versus some other ones where they're just looking for attention.
Yeah, in fact, usually I don't do this all the time, but if I do meet up with a girl and we end up hooking up or something, I usually do take a very quick look at their phone to see what kind of apps they have on there, and many of them do have like all of the apps installed. So they'll have like, they'll even have like plenty of fish installed and shit, dude. And I would have met them on either Tinder or whatever. So, it's just the kind of the luck of the draw, really. Like, are you going to pull the winning lottery ticket from
Yeah.
one app, that she uses on a regular basis?
Yeah, and it also depends on her mood too, right? For that day, her current dating situation. There have been girls that flaked on me that have gone cold on me like months before, and then if I reach back out to them, maybe like a few months later on, I can actually get them out on a date, and sometimes I can even bet them too. Did you have
Yeah,
a similar experience as me?
yeah. I had one yesterday actually where I messaged this girl a few months ago, and she was quite nice. It wasn't really flaky, but just couldn't meet up because of the distance, and the lead died. And I opened her like once or twice, and she didn't respond. And she like out of the blue just messaged me yesterday that she was in the area, and that turned out pretty well. But that's um, I think is a rare occurrence actually. You know, it does happen from time to time, but I wouldn't really be banking on something to happen all the time.
No, yeah, you guys should definitely be going out and meeting new girls as well. But I think over time you'll accumulate a large set of numbers in your phone book or whatever, and then if you have some time or something like that, you can just send like a generic text message to all these girls at the same time or something like that, and then you'll get like a few bites here and there. But I probably wouldn't spend too much time thinking about it though. All right, let's talk about what to do when you do get flaked. What do you usually do when you find out you just got flaked on by a girl?
Um, it depends on what I already thought about. Like if I knew that if there was a strong suspicion that I might be hooking up that night, or it's a really promising lead, I'd probably get a little bit upset. But I do have like backup plans always. Maybe another date, maybe another girl I'm seeing might come over instead, and I might just forget about that
Mm-hmm.
the other girl completely. So it's very very easy to replace and just find new leads and get new girls. And there's no girl shortage here, so it's very easy to do, unlike in the US, where if you get flaked on, like, you're holding your dick probably for like the next week or so.
Yeah, it's much harder to line up dates in the West. There's just not enough supply to put it nicely.
Right, not enough supply. And one thing about the West is like the technology and the trends change very quickly. I
Yeah.
remember when it was plenty of fish and all this nonsense. Now it's like seeking arrangement, and very pseudo style dating that now it's Instagram, you know, and even though girls use Instagram here, it's like I'm looking at their profiles and like, they don't get likes on their pictures, not very many, so it's definitely not that big as in the US, that's for sure. So
No, yeah, Instagram has starting to become like a sort of dating app nowadays too, right? Especially like in the West, guys are like taking all these professional photos of them going on vacation, eating out at expensive restaurants, buying really expensive things with the hopes of attracting girls and showing the girl through his Instagram his status.
yeah,
Yeah.
I personally think Instagram game is a waste of time, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know what I could possibly get off that app. If imagine taking every second of the day to like pretend like you're living, the best life that you are, and taking pictures of your meal, you're traveling for work, taking pictures of your comped 5-star hotel. It just gets tiresome after a while.
Yeah, it's really time consuming taking all those photos all the time. I
Yeah,
just can't do it. It's just not for me.
now they got this thing with the follow liker, and you're like manipulating their algorithm so you can get a bunch of followers, and then you're messaging girls in your area, and you just praying and hoping one converts, right?
Yeah, it's not for me. I'm sticking to the old fashioned way of dating. Have you ever had a situation where a girl has shown a lot of interest to you? Like, let's say that the night before, and then suddenly on the day of the date, like she just goes completely cold on you.
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember.
Non-responsive texts or really slow responses, wishy-washy. It's happened to me, like I think like on two occasions where I had two girls. They seemed like they were steaming, piping hot. Like the night before, I thought it was gonna be a sure thing. I would meet them. I would be able to get them out on a date. But then just before the date, I would text them to confirm plans, and they would be just dead silent. And I would be like, "Well, what? Why were you so like receptive towards talking with me, making plans or whatnot? Why didn't you just tell me straight up or something like that?"
Yeah, usually something comes up or whatever. I actually just realized that, we were talking about this before, but yeah, I had a lead off of Vietnam Cupid go cold on me, but I realized that I was kind of wasting my time with her anyway. And when she realized that I realized that I was wasting my time, that she was like, "Wow, I guess whatever I wanted from this guy isn't gonna happen." So I just kind of left that lead, alone. She was showing me a lot of interest through text and in the meetups, but not quite closing the deal yet. But after the second day, she just stopped really responding seriously to my texts. That's another thing. Like, you got to keep the momentum going between dates if you're meeting girls, um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and because flakes do happen in between dates and will kill like your progress very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, definitely. It can be quite annoying because you just wasted all this time and energy, right? Like dating the girl for like a few dates, and then suddenly something comes up. Maybe she has a school exam, or she's swamped with work, and then you don't see her again for like a while. And by the time let's say she says she's gonna be free in the next 3 weeks or something, by the time that comes by, all the momentum's gone now. You feel like you're just back to square one.
I had that shit happen to me too. I had two relatively successful dates with the second one at my place, and again, not quite sealing the deal, but she got back home, and I thought things were going well, and I'm like, "Hey, when can we meet up for something to do?" Blah blah blah. I forgot what I was luring her out with, but She was like, "Yeah, I think I'm moving to District 2. I think I'm doing this. I might be busy for 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Fuck that."
Yeah, yeah. So, if a girl flaked on you, what sort of things do you usually do about it? Do you call her out on it? Do you just ignore her? Do you ghost her, or do
I
you
have
just
a
wait it?
nasty habit, and I need to really work on this because I think what I'm doing can backfire on me too. I have a nasty habit of blocking girls, blocking them without any even like
Mm.
even for like the tiniest BS like they pull, I just block them because it's just no, I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about this off of the podcast in real life about it. Yeah, Mike has a habit of blocking girls sometimes a bit prematurely. I feel when he probably could have gone a little bit further with the girl.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I actually have like 79 blocked contacts on my
Holy
WhatsApp.
shit!
Yeah, I really think that's
Wow.
the number.
Wow. Oh,
Um, I bet you, like, if I didn't block any of those girls, I could have converted at least,
yeah.
let's say, 1/4,
Yeah.
right?
I'd probably say at least a third of those girls you probably could have converted.
Yeah. So maybe I just need to be a little more patient next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just quite.
Yeah, things are dating here. It's a little bit different from the West. You got to be a little bit more patient here with girls. You can't always expect to have like the same night lays or something, or like a one night stand with girls. A lot of the girls, once you've been dating for a while, you find out that they require a few more dates. Sometimes like three, four, 5 dates before she'll let you sleep with her. And
Yeah.
and also the thing with flaking, like I find like sometimes if she flakes on me and I act like it's not a big deal, about I'd say probably at least a third of the time she'll text me back maybe at some later point in time or maybe the next day, and she'll usually try to arrange another date. And I've actually gotten girls back out on dates that flaked on me the first time by me just acting like it wasn't a big deal and just be like, okay, cool, no problem, text me again when you're free and you're more sure of your schedule and we'll meet up. And then usually like a week or two I'll hear back from them and I can get them out on a date again. And another thing that I usually like to do is I usually pick a place that's close to my place, and then I pick a time that's convenient for me. So if a girl is gonna flake on me, I probably won't be wasting too much of my time. Like I would pick, like, for example, I used to pick when I was staying at this hotel down here. I used to pick this cafe that was like a 5 minute walk from my place. And one time I got flaked on by some chick, and it was like okay, well, no big deal. I'm gonna go back home. It's only been like 5 minutes or whatever, and then I just did something else. You gotta kind of put yourself in her situation. Maybe something came up or something. If instead of like lashing out on her and like calling her, oh, you bitch or whatever, you're wasting my time, blah blah blah, you just act like it didn't affect you. And sometimes if something really did come up, she'll actually try to rearrange a second date with you.
Yeah, I think that technique I'm gonna start putting into good use and just cooling off and just letting her just get back to me whenever and just leave her contact in my WhatsApp. But sometimes with a lot of these leads, I get very very close to closing, and I feel like sometimes the girls love to throw a little monkey wrench in my game plan and say, yeah, let's
Yeah,
make this guy wait a little bit,
yeah, like a final test or something, right?
Yeah, and I obviously fail. Like
Yeah.
shit, I'm too
It's
close.
just giving like a final shit test or something like that, and then it's just testing. Okay, it's like, okay, he passed everything. Now I'm just gonna give him one final test, and if he can pass this test, I'm gonna offer myself to him. And then you end up just like, screw it, I'm done with this woman. It's like an F fail. There is one thing I want to say though about if a girl flakes on you, if she flakes on you a second time, just drop her. She's obviously like not interested, just wasting your time in playing games, right? I mean, I can understand a first time if it happens, something came up or whatever. But if she's doing it a second time, she's not serious about dating you. Just get rid of her and just move
Yeah,
on to
actually,
someone.
I actually have this problem with like younger girls, like girls from like 18 to maybe 20, 21. Girls who always throw me the busy, busy excuse, busy, busy. I'm like, where do you live? And I'm with the younger girl leads. I work these leads quite well, and I pay special care because I like going out with younger girls, and a lot of them are just either busy with school or studying for some exam, and it's like, why are these girls on dating apps if they can't go out? They're my flakiest demographic.
Yeah, usually the younger they are, the less mature I find that they are and serious about dating. So that would probably explain why there's a higher flake rate with younger girls. Like for me personally, I like to target girls like in the mid 20s. That's probably my bread and butter. I don't like going for girls that are like 18, 19 because I find they're a bit immature for my personal taste, and they tend to flake a bit more.
Yeah, we might have to do like a little case study on this and
Yeah,
find out
yeah.
what's the best way to get them out. Actually, I was talking to this one guy. He's a mutual friend of ours, um, and I asked him like, how do you get these younger girls out? And he was telling me, oh yeah, he was really vague about it, but I understand his answer. He's like, oh yeah, you just need time and money for those, just time and money.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, I just got to be patient, and
Yeah.
I might not get it the first time, but
You gotta outweight some of these girls sometimes here. That's a part of the game. So now that we've talked about what to do when you get flaked on, what are some ways that we can prevent flaking from happening?
let's see.
What do you typically do to prevent yourself? I mean, there's no guarantee that you can stop flaking completely, right? But there are obviously ways that you can minimize flaking.
Yeah, my text game, or if you will, or my like repertoire over WhatsApp or Viber, I think is pretty good, and is good enough to really screen for flakes, and it's very obvious if the girl isn't interested or whatever, and I can just delete her or leave her for later.
Okay, so
Certain
essentially
apps,
screening, right? Essentially
yeah,
screening the girl. This is what you're referring to.
yeah. I would also pay. There's a certain characteristic. I'm not even sure if I should be mentioning this on this podcast because I feel like it's pretty good information, but I'll do it anyway. We've talked about this before, but there's a characteristic that certain girls have that I can feel it over text. It's like really eager and really bubbly, and they just want to meet up and they're just firing on all cylinders, and you have to be like a fucking autistic idiot not to notice it, right?
So
And
high
it's just
interest, really high interest.
really high interest, and I get these. I wouldn't say often, but I get these sometimes, and I know that I need to get her out next day or like ASAP. You know, and a lot of these girls like you won't even like they'll text you so much you don't want to text back, and then they'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Let's meet up." And like where? And I'll tell them my place, and they'll meet me near there, and
Yeah.
it's a wrap usually. And but yes, high interest. I feel like high interest girls are really underrated because a lot of the other guys I talk to in Saigon are like, oh, the girls are really flaky and they take too long to respond on apps. But I never hear about these like really high interest girls that should be quite easy to get out on a date. I feel like that's never mentioned.
Yeah, high interest is pretty much universal, right? If you have if you're meeting a high interest girl online, the chances of her showing up on her date are much higher compared to like a low interest girl, right? So and also one other thing you just mentioned, strike while the iron is hot, right? If
Yeah.
while she's still really interested in you, you should try to get her out ASAP as soon as possible. Because eventually, if you don't do anything, she's gonna lose the interest. The fire is gonna slowly burn away, and then she's gonna turn into like a moderately interested girl, or in a worst case scenario, low interest.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna add that and even if she is super high interested, it does take you a few dates to get delayed. It is absolutely still worth it. And normally, with my experience, they maintain that interest throughout the dating process. And they don't usually flake if they're like high interest for the beginning, and you schedule your dates like it doesn't need to be consecutively, but close enough to each other. I would say like within a week. Then that's really good, and you got a low chance of flaking there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get them out as soon as possible. Do you also confirm with the girl before you go on the date, or do you just show up?
Usually the girl will confirm with me first. They're really good about that here.
Okay.
Sometimes I do it, but just cause, and then they'll be like, okay, and then But most of the time the girl will confirm first, or and they don't confirm. At least in my experience, like maybe an hour or two, they'll confirm like when I wake up usually. Like I'll wake up like maybe 8 or 9, and then I'll have a text already by 7 a.m. like, hey, we're meeting today, right? I guess I'll see you later, something like that. That's maybe about 55%. The other 45% is like kind of split, and I might get confirmations midday, confirmations within like an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Also, yeah, one thing I like to do before I go on dates is maybe like an hour or two. I usually like to confirm with the girl to see if she's up. It's my way of testing the waters. If she doesn't respond back, that means she's not going to show up to the date. If she responds back and she's a bit apprehensive or wishy-washy, there's a high chance she'll flake on me. But if she responds and she appears cheery, upbeat or whatever, I'll probably see her on the date. And one other thing is when I make plans, I try to make solid plans with the girl, right? So I tell her at a specific time, at a specific place, so that way there's no confusion. There's none of this wishy-washy type of thing, like, oh, where should we go? I don't know where we're supposed to meet. I tell them exactly here, and it's a way of testing for compliance as well, right? Because if a girl's being argumentative when I'm telling her, hey, let's meet here, she's like, no, let's just go here instead. That tells me that on the date I may have some issues with the girl trying to follow my lead. She may test me more. She may give me some shit tests on the date. She may cause problems. Maybe we're not compatible. These are like these little sort of nuances that you kind of have to watch out for.
Yeah.
And another thing is I also look for signs of low interest. I think you just talked about it, right? If she's being wishy-washy, evasive, taking a long time to respond to my texts, it means she'll probably flake on me if I were to meet up with her. So I usually don't bother too much with those girls. When I'm trying to make plans with a girl, I want her to appear upbeat, happy, enthusiastic about going out on a date with me. She should confirm plans with me, things like that. If she's checking all these check marks, I'll probably get her on a date and we'll probably have a great time. If she's being evasive, showing signs of low interest, then it's probably not a good idea. I'm probably just wasting my time with her.
Yeah.
All right. We're running out of time here, Mike. Do you have anything else to add before I wrap things up?
I actually did, but I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll save it for a future podcast then.
All right, great.
You can, once you remember it, we'll discuss it on another podcast. Okay. Well, thank you once again, Mike, for coming on the show, and thank you guys for tuning in. I've written a more in-depth article about flaking here in Vietnam in the description below, so don't forget to check it out. And thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.